Big welcome, everyone. So let's give ourselves a sort of bodily welcome, particularly if you've been online. Maybe give yourself a squeeze, a hug, a tap, like I exist as a human being. I'm not just watching the internet. I am here. Hello, welcome. Well done, me. Pat on the back to making it to a learning session on resilience. Some of you I know very, very well. I'm spotting Daria, I'm spotting David, Alison, Stephanie, people I know really well. Are there any newbies here? Is there anyone who's not been in any of my online sessions before? Give us a wave. Okay, welcome, new people, welcome. This might not be the rodeo you're used to, so just be aware of that. And extra love to our friend from Ukraine that I just saw. All right, hello, welcome. My name is Mark. I am an alcoholic. No, that's wrong day of the week, sorry. My name is Mark and I help people with resilience. I've done that for years. I've advised most of Britain's top NGOs, even talked in the House of Lords on it, worked with corporate groups, lots and lots of coaches. How to stay sane. Why are people insane is our topic for today. It's supposed to be like 5 neat reasons. There's probably going to be like 15 and a chipmunk. I don't know. So let's see how we go. I've got too many thoughts for 5, I think, at this stage. Still with me? Take a breath. All right. So I got interested in resilience because everyone in my family is fucking crazy. I grew up in a household with an alcoholic, with an epileptic. My auntie was a schizophrenic. Various people were depressed. Various people killed themselves. And after a while, I started to think, hang on a minute, I would like to not go crazy and not kill myself. How do I do that? So this became a topic of interest for me from a young age. And I studied all sorts of things like psychology and martial arts and meditation. And then what's happening, what I found happened was very interesting, is the world caught up with me. Everybody else went crazy too. I teach all over the world. I'm in at least 20 countries a year. Including during COVID, I still managed it. And what I've noticed is people have got more and more insane. And I mean that, in the real clinical sense and right down to the just kind of what my friend Ruby Wax would call frazzled, right? This is a kind of English ism for kind of just feeling stressed and anxious and maybe not clinically insane, but certainly not very well. All over Europe, and I'm told in North America it's even worse. I hear reports of increasing rates of drug addiction, suicide, issues with young people's mental health. And frankly, I'm worried about it, particularly with young people. This is what I'm hearing from all over the world. Is that the case where you are? Let's just hear in the chat. Like, I'm guessing you're here, maybe you've seen the same thing. I feel like I meet a lot of people, and on my travels, some places it's worse than others, and we'll see maybe why today. But it's pretty bad everywhere, as far as I can tell. People's mental health is not great at all. So maybe just put in the chat, like if you agree, if you see that or not. A lot of struggle. Yeah. Same in Belgium. Yeah, I saw it in Belgium this year. I saw it in Germany this year. Young people, it seems to be even worse. And there's reasons for that, which we'll get into. Yeah, addiction's increasing. Some of the hard measures like suicide have increased. Like some of it could be reporting issues, right? Like everyone's anxious now, everyone has trauma now, but suicide's not a reporting issue. People aren't faking that, right? So there's some sort of hard numbers as well, right? So yeah, yes, there are reporting issues, and positive things like mental health being far less stigmatized now, far less stigmatized. Positive things have been people reported more, but the hard measures also show this. Yeah, the National Health Service just collapsing, right? People on sick leave. I've heard that adolescent mental health services are just in absolute collapse all across Europe in various countries. I've heard that. So it's not specific to one place. I guess our first question, first of all, this is kind of a heavy topic, right? You still breathing? I forget, I get casual about this stuff. Like I was on the phone I started a charity in Ukraine and they're currently doing a teacher training. I'm about to become a trauma training granddad. I'm very proud trauma training granddad. And, we deal with heavy topics every day, really, really intense stuff every day. So if I seem casual about it, it's not because I don't care. It's just because this is like daily bread and butter for me. I shed my fair share of tears as well around this stuff, but it's, it becomes normalized in a way. I grew up with it, so it's normalized. But I also want to acknowledge that This can kind of set off difficult sets of thinking and memories. If that happens, think about kittens. Okay, everyone promised. Think about kittens. That's the deal. And if you're not breathing, you're not allowed to be here. Okay, so keep breathing. That's the secret. Yeah, Italy was just in Italy, beautiful place, but also has its problems. Lovely teenagers, indeed. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so I guess our sort of first inquiry should be, why is everyone fucking crazy now? If we are interested in not going more crazy or doing something about it, even, we should ask why. Now, anyone who comes to you with a single answer to such a complicated question is selling something or is a religious fundamentalist. Yeah. Oh, we are selling something. We have a resilience course coming up. Full transparency. If you don't know us by now, we do free events, and then some people say, "Well, we love you. Let's do your course." But the good news is, if you have no money, you still get to come to the free event, and I will not hold back on anything I know. I'll still give you all my good stuff. Okay, so that's full transparency. But anyone who says that there's one simple answer to something as complex as, mental health stuff, allergic to cats, okay, I think that's never going to be the case. And I know we kind of like want the answer, people would say it's social media, it's this, it's that, and they're not wrong. Often the things they say are sensible, but they're part of the picture. Yeah. I'm influenced by Ken Wilber, America's greatest living philosopher, I would say. John Bavacki in Canada would give him a run for his money for doing North America. And Ken Wilber looks at things for what he calls the 4 quadrants. So this is ways of looking at things psychologically, sociologically, culturally, economically, physically, environmentally. So I know that's more than 4, but I'm expanding it a bit. Yeah. So we look at things through different lenses. So if someone just tells you psychological or economic or cultural or structural, well, they're probably missing something. Yeah. So I also look at things through a historical lens. I'm keenly interested in history. If we pan right back, we can see what's happening now in the context of a few 100,000 years and certainly a few 100 years. Yeah, I'll say what I mean by that next. So we can pan right back and look at it that way. We can look at it biologically in terms of some of the biological influences on our sanity, culturally, break some of those down. There are various ways to think about these. I think the easiest ones in terms of disconnection. All right. Maybe you've read the book by the British journalist Johann Hari on this. He talks about 9 or 10 types of connection. I usually simplify it to 4: connection to self, to other, to nature, and to spirit or meaning. All right. If you do not have these, you will go fucking nuts. Okay. So let's break them down. Connection to self, body. There's a reason I started there with you guys before talking about this stuff. There's a reason I said, are you breathing? Take a breath. Still breathing? Oh, it's gonna be fine. We'll all be dead soon. Don't worry. Okay. So connection to body. Now I'm known as Mr. Embodiment. This is my life's work. I wrote the book on it. Embodiment, many good embodiment teachers out there, but this is a whole movement I've been associated with. Connecting to the body is an anchor. Why is it an anchor? If you're in your body, you're in the present moment. You're not thinking, oh, what's going to happen in the future and what happened in the past, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. There's a few other reasons why being in the body keeps us sane, but we live in disembodied times. We could go right back to the Greeks or Descartes or Christianity. There's various influences on what happened, including modern tech, but we've lost contact with the anchors of our body. So this is one of the first reasons we're insane, is that we think in terms of mental health, right? Mental health is fucking mental. As soon as you start thinking in terms of purely mental health, I think you've already lost the plot, So our embodiment, our anchor to ourselves, this is the thing that keeps us present, keeps us sane. Your mind is not your friend, okay? Your mind is like an evil North Korean dictator on drugs who's there to do you harm. So your body is the way forward, anchoring in the body, whether it be for yoga, martial arts, and body meditation. There's lots of ways to do it, but body, 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 body. Think about, if I put it this way, when were you last most sane? Right? Like maybe, you were out walking in the sun in Croatia, and then you had made love with your beautiful new lover, and you were dancing with your friends, and you had a massage. These are pretty bodily things, right? Does that sound like a good day? Does that sound like a good day to anyone? Huh? Anyone want to sign up for that? Yeah. Okay. No, I need a new wife, by the way, but if you're my student, it can't be you. I'm terribly sorry. Okay, so where was I before I got distracted with a small fantasy there? So body, most of us are made sane by the body. This is a very common human experience, whether it be cuddling a child or feeling a wind on your skin or whatever it is. Yeah. Okay, so second disconnection, maybe the even more important, dare I say it, is embodiment teacher, is lack of co-regulation, lack of connection with other people. You were not wired for this shit. What do I mean by this shit? I mean modernity and post-modernity. I mean, you are not in a village of supportive people who speak your language, worship your religion, you've known since you were a child, deeply immersed in ritual, connection, and belonging. That's what you were made for. That's what 99.99% of your ancestors had in the Paleolithic is co-regulation, community, connection. We are human animals. We outsource our sanity to our friends. Okay, we are, what's the word I usually use? Inter-resilient. We are not resilient. So if you're looking for the number one tool to be resilient, the yoga technique, the breathing technique, the psychology book, you're missing that point. Okay, you need community. So the reason we're all crazy is we don't have community. Now, this is better and worse in different countries. Like in Southern Europe, it's still a bit better than Northern Europe, for example. Yeah, you see a bit more community and connection here. Big cities, it's worse than villages. You know, there's various issues here. But this is the one that really sends people crazy. Actually, it's one of the biggies. So disconnection from others, belonging, that is huge. I've worked around trauma with all sorts of people, and interestingly, soldiers have a much lower rate of trauma than journalists, for example. Yeah. Why? Because they have a very strong sense of belonging, very strong. There's a couple of reasons actually, but one is they have strong sense of belonging, sense of meaning. We'll come to hopefully, and a strong sense of co-regulation. Yeah, they're not like doing therapy with each other and something sort of limp-necked Californian style, but they are loving each other. Soldiers love each other. Yeah, hashtag trauma bonding. Okay, so it's yeah, that co-regulation is super, super important. Isolation is the thing that kills. That's why solitary confinement is a form of torture. Yeah, or a form of meditation if you're a Buddhist masochist. Yes. Anyone done a solitary retreat? Not easy. Not easy because you have all your co-regulation taken away. You're like, I need a hug. Okay. Still with me? If I speak too quickly for your non-ADHD minds, you must ask me nicely. Okay. Or would you like me to speak in the BBC English so that you can understand me more easily if I pronounce the consonants fully? I currently have some friends, let's say friends, who asked me to speak in BBC English. And this is the B sign that they use now. It's new, Steve. They use the B sign. It means BBC, please, Mark. And then they can understand me. Right? All right. I've been working very hard lately. Where was I? So co-regulation number 2, second disconnection, third disconnection that sends us insane, disconnection from ecology, from nature. Yeah. So we have this idea of separateness from nature. Charles Eisenstein talks very beautifully about this. If you want someone smarter than me to listen to, he's very good. Disconnection from nature. Most of your peak positive mental health experiences, I bet, happened in nature. On the beach, in the forest, frolicking in the fields, probably with your friends, maybe on your own, you weird introverts, but almost certainly in nature. Very few people go, you know what really helped my mental health was being alone in a concrete room with no windows, no plants, and no kittens. No, that would be terrible. So nature keeps us sane. We were designed for this. We evolved for this. Nature is your friend. Nature helps us well. You know, I went through a divorce last year and it was pretty difficult. And you know what really helped me was not the therapy I had once a week. It's not all the embodiments I knew. It was sitting by the river every day, an hour or two, adding my tears to the bigger flow of nature, right? The grief of the water moving, the calmingness of the water, the regulation of the water, the being in nature, the birds are still singing, the water's still flowing, life goes on, right? So, you know, nature is, anyone else done that? Sat by a lake or sat by a sea? Yeah, I've seen soldiers hug trees when they're like distraught, you know, like all sorts of people naturally fall to the ground when they're grieving to hug the earth. The elements are your friend, okay? Disconnection from nature is one of the reasons we're crazy. And the more time you spend in nature, the less crazy you'll be as a general. You with me so far? This is all kind of making sense, right? I'll do the challenging stuff tomorrow. I'll start with the nice stuff so you think I'm a hippie, yeah? All right. The last connection is the connection to meaning of the big four. So we're disconnected from meaning. We could also say spirit. I'll say meaning because some of you are dirty moderns, dirty secular atheists. So we say meaning as well, but we could also say spirit. You know, obviously these things are not separate, right? Like, you know, you might have an animist belief in nature, right? As I do. But yeah, disconnecting from meaning is an absolute recipe for disaster. You can see like different PTSD rates in different wars, depending on if the soldiers believed in the war or not. Right? It's very different to say, I'm defending my country against invasion or we're fighting the Nazis. It's very different from, say, I don't know, Vietnam experience or something, you know? Or Viktor Frankl's book on Man's Search for Meaning talks about this, or Simon Sinek that says, you know, your why, what is your why? There's a picture of me from 2 years ago teaching in a bomb shelter in Ukraine. I'm cold, I'm hungry, I have sciatic pain, which means I'm like really in a lot of pain. I'm literally being bombed, and you've never seen such a big fucking smile on my face, right? I'm like literally the happiest you've ever seen me. Why? Because I was on purpose. You know, I've got a project working with young people. I've just started around weight training. I'm supervising the Ukrainians doing their work. Of course, I always love training coaches and embodiment. I'm doing that. I'm on purpose. You know, that sense of purpose and meaning is not only is it attractive to beautiful women, it also keeps you sane. Okay, it also keeps you sane. So the why is very important. There are ways to connect with that. I've coached many people on that. It's not just random. It's not just going to hit you like lightning. You can tune into it. And these things are mutually supportive, right? Like if you're tuned in with your body, you're like, oh, that lights me up. I should do more of that shit. I like that shit. Yeah. Equally, if you've got good friends, they'll be like, Mark, go do that thing in Ukraine. You love it. Go do it. Like, okay, yeah, try not to get shot. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Equally, you sit in nature and you go for a walk and you come back refreshed and you've been in the Tuscan countryside like I have. And afterwards, you're like, oh, you're in touch with the gods and your meaning in life. So these things are all, they're mutually supportive, right? That's why, anyway. So meaning, spirituality, disconnection from that. You might not like this framing, but everybody worships. Everybody worships. The question is, what do you worship? Do you worship your own reflection on the Instagram mirror? Yeah. Do you worship money? I don't recommend that. What do you worship? Yeah, we all worship something. Bitcoin. What do you worship? Yeah. So another way of putting that is, what am I in service to? I'm the boss of me. I'm not in service. Shut the fuck up. That won't get you through the long night of the soul. You think hedonism is going to get you through the darkest of days? Like, I like pleasure. Good luck with that when you've got cancer. Good luck with that when your dad just tried to kill himself. Yeah? Good luck with that. It's not going to cut it. Hedonism's not going to cut it, which is what our culture offers us, doesn't it? Our culture says the purpose of life is to get stuff, get pleasure, and be a somebody. Status, money, and pleasure. Yeah, narcissism, nihilism, hedonism. And that absolutely will not cut it. So we live in a culture which is encouraging us to do things which are deeply unhealthy. Okay, the culture of consumerism that we live in is leading us away from purpose, away from connection, away from our own bodies, away from nature, away from spirit. And it is a conspiracy. Okay, it is absolutely a conspiracy for profit, and it's killing us. So, yeah, not going to hold back on that. Still with me? Following the logic? All right, we could also just pan back historically. I promised you that, didn't I? Okay, one thing I want to acknowledge actually is some of this is just economics. Like, why are young people unhappy? Well, they can't afford a house, right? Like, some of it's just pure economics. Like, if people are just not doing so well, particularly comparatively, compared to other generations, and that's part of it. Yeah, like, poverty is a thing and it matters. The one kind of fucking privilege that no one talks about. Hello, America. Let's get obsessed with every other fucking little thing and not talk about the one thing that really matters, and that's money. Yeah, when it comes to inequality, that's the one. I've been rich, I've been poor, and I can tell you being rich is better because you can afford the therapist and you can afford the yoga classes. And, you know, it's just a different world. So I don't want to not mention that, because if we talk about resilience as if it was just psychological, well, there's someone in Sudan who disagrees. There's someone in a council estate in north of England who disagrees. Okay, if we're just talking about psychology. So like economics is a factor here. This is my old school lefty coming out. It still exists. So yeah, economics is a factor, not just culture, not just psychology. Let's pan back. Ready to pan back? 100,000 years. You're in the Paleolithic. Okay, not to be idealized, hippies. Okay, the Paleolithic had all sorts of things like a ringworm that you probably won't want. However, it probably had a lot more nature connection, probably had a lot more meaning. The hills were alive with the gods, not the sound of music. The rocks had names, the rivers had names. You knew who your neighbors were. You had a coherent meaning base. You had a system for living. You had a moral system. Oh my God, we're talking about morality. Is that allowed? Yes, it is. You had an ethical system, you had a meaning system, you were definitely in your body if you were hunting and fishing and, you know, all day long, hunting and gathering. So that's kind of the main reason we're not resilient, is we're disconnected from that. And what I think's been happening is essentially when we kind of moved out of the Paleolithic, it's like we jumped off a tall building and we're falling down the building going, so far, so good, so far, so good, so far, so good. And we just saw the ground, right? Because it's not the fall that kills you, right? So it's another way of thinking about that is I think we've been increasing psychological load, definitely since industrialization, probably since the Middle Ages, maybe since agriculture was invented. And that psychological load has got to a point which is more than the human mind can handle. Yeah. And people say, oh, it was COVID. Maybe COVID was the straw that broke the camel's back. You know this phrase? It's like the last, you know, it's like we can take 10 units of stress and pressure, and it was like 9.9, and then COVID just added that last one. And of course, you know, no one understood co-regulation during COVID, right? Social isolation was the cure. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, and you can, you know, I'm not going to give you medical opinions, but certainly, you know, co-regulation is the heart of well-being, the absolute heart of well-being. Yeah. So I think we've been heading this way for quite a while. And it's been sped up by COVID, by technology. I think of recent of late, of economic factors, you know, wider factors in the field. It's not like suddenly life got worse, though, right? Like, I mean, there's war today, right? But it's nowhere near as much as there was at some points in history. There's poverty, but again, nowhere near as much as there was in some points in history. Racism, sexism, etc. We in some ways living the best time we've ever had, right? Like women, I've got a time machine. Where are we going back in time, women? Nowhere. Yeah. What culture are we going to that's so much better than Western culture? None of them. Yeah. So on the one hand, things are awesome, but we have been heading away from that kind of Paleolithic. It's not Garden of Eden, but at least we were connected at that point. We may have had fleas, but we had someone to pick the fleas off. Should we pick fleas off each other? Let's groom each other. Pick fleas off each other. Just pick fleas off each other. Just pick the fleas off each other. Just to keep you moving and co-regulated. There we go. Nice. Look at the nice people to pick fleas off. Excellent. Monkeys love it. Monkeys will put fleas on each other just to pick them off. Love monkeys. Who loves monkeys? I love monkeys. Okay. So where was I? So historically, industrialization made the disconnection worse, alienation worse. You could look at that through a Marxist lens as well as an embodiment lens. Technology, of course, is the latest one, right? And of course, you know, as you get old, like me, you start blaming the technology. However, social media is deeply evil. It is the smoking of the modern era. We will look back on kids with phones in the same way as we look back on kids with cigarettes. You know, when you see those pictures from the 19th century of some kids smoking a fag, you know, you're like, fuck, it looks awful. That's how we're going to look back when we see kids on Facebook. Yeah. It's absolute cancer. It's destroying our minds for profit. Jonathan Haidt, H-A-I-D-T, wrote an excellent book on this. If you're not sure, you want some research. You know, we are being destroyed for profit by a small number of people. They have names and addresses. And yeah, if any of you are Irish, you know, we're not fighting the British anymore. So maybe we need a hobby. You know, maybe we need some new people. Anyway, I won't do that or else I'll get banned from the internet, honestly. I'm already risking all my accounts. All right. So technology is definitely a part of it. I think they're the main things I wanted to cover today. So the 4 disconnections, historical context. Yeah, Steve, anything I said I was going to cover and didn't?
I mean, not particularly, because we've got another session coming up tomorrow as well. So you've got half of it today, only half of it at most. So it's not just actually on that. It's not actually the same time tomorrow. It is an hour earlier. So another 5 reasons why they're all crazy is at 5 p.m. UK time tomorrow. Which also, I'll throw back to you, Mark. But
no, these are good. Put the schedule up. Put the schedule up. It's some good sessions. So Ruby Wax, British TV celebrity, originally from the States. She's great. Does stuff on mental health. I did a good interview with her. Dan Millman, more people know, a bit of a classic. Slightly different time on my session. It's going to be a bit weirder, more philosophical and more challenging tomorrow. Today was the liberal fluffy version, which you'll know already. So we're going to hit the weird shit tomorrow.
I mean, it's calibration, right? Like today you just sort of went a tiny bit and tomorrow it goes right deep.
Goes hardcore tomorrow. Thomas Hubel was fantastic. The stuff on intergenerational trauma, totally different from me, but really cool guy. I like him a lot. Yeah, we got him on. I'm going to do one especially for fitness people tomorrow. That's a bit different. It's a little bit, anyone who's interested in weightlifting and fitness, it's a bit of a...
Not tomorrow, Friday. So
Friday, there we go, Friday. And then actually on the Friday, we'll also look at, you know, some solutions here. I'm aware I'm sort of giving you the black pill, as it were, right now. It's a little bit like, oh, I'm depressed. No one kill themselves before Friday, okay? Like, just promise me. I know it can be a bit like, oh shit, everything's bad. But there are some things we can do about it. So first thing is sort of laying out the problem as clearly as possible. Yeah, I hope there was some clarity there. Main request is please tell your friends. This is totally free for all. Yes, there's a paid course, but I will endeavor to give as much good stuff for free as I can. As you can see, I don't hold back. Yeah, please tell your friends. Maybe you've got a friend who would love this stuff. Obviously, don't tell your like politically correct friends in like, you know, San Francisco or Berlin who are just going to get upset and offended. But if you've got friends who would love it, then send them the link totally free of charge. It's just on for a couple of days and the recordings are available, right, Steve? What's the deal with recordings?
Yeah, so we're on for 3 days now, and then you have 2 days of recordings. So Saturday and Sunday, you'll get sent it on Saturday morning-ish, give or take, depending on your time zone. And yeah, you'll have them until Sunday night, Monday morning. And okay, you can get them forever if you want them as well. And as Mark mentioned, there's also the course. If you want to check that out, I'll drop the link in the chat there. You can just have a scroll over that. There's plenty of good stuff on that.
Yeah, I also teach, if you don't like online, in person in Slovenia, which is gorgeous, and Austin, Texas, and various other places. So, as my students in Slovenia, that's Lake Bled, isn't it? Yeah, good.
So yeah, I'll share it to that.
Seeing your Google now, Steve. There we go. There's the live events. Sweden in the near future. Good. All right. What was one thing I said that was useful that you want to take away and get in your new tattoo, or just take away? That would be good feedback for me. And any questions, please put Q and then your question in the chat. It's nice to see you all, by the way, especially those on camera. Thanks for 205 people. That's pretty good, huh, Steve? Pretty good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice to see everyone. Good. Hey, Sue. I'm just seeing who else is here now. I'm flicking through. Can't see everyone, Steve. It says 205, 203, but I can only see like 50 for some reason.
I imagine you've got non-video participants hidden.
Okay. As humans, we're interested in, yes, absolutely, Alison, into resilient. You can't do it on your own. If anyone tells you you can do it on your own, they are madmen. Get back into nature. Yeah, absolutely. I spend several hours a day in nature when I'm at home. Clarity around the 4 main causes. Yeah, it's a nice model, huh? 4 is kind of like a manageable number. We have a little thing we use when we train the Ukrainians. Sometimes like people are pretty stressed because of bombs and stuff. So we need like little things to remember things. So we have this one, which is self-regulation, co-regulation, eco-regulation, theo-regulation. It's just a little thing that we developed to help people. It's like with kids, it just helps people remember stuff. You want to do it with me? Do it with me? Self-regulation, give yourself a hug. Okay, co-regulation, give everyone else a hug. Eco-regulation, be a tree, and theoregulation, do an. See, now you remember. Good. And questions? We'll do 5 or 10 minutes for questions.
And just to answer one question I had as well. This session's about 30 minutes, as you can see, and then 15 minutes, give or take, of Q&A if you have that many questions.
Another place you can ask questions on Instagram. Maybe Steve can link me there. I also do. People love the 1-minute coaching sessions I do on Instagram. We've got one on people pleasing with 3 million views. It's ridiculous. So yeah, if you want to see me coach people on boundaries, particularly, but also resilience, have a look at it.
And because people can't see Instagram on the chat when they're watching the replay, it's at Mark Walsh. So WARKMALSH.
Last one was theoregulation. We made that up. We have a Greek employee, Virginia, who we love. So whenever we want a fancy word, she gives us like the Greek version, and then we sound educated. So eco-regulation, I think I also made up, but that's catching on. Theoregulation, we definitely made up. It's Theo, unless I'm being working class, and it's fucking Theo, mate, innit? Okay, theoregulation.
It also means ugly in Spanish.
Does it? You're not ugly, Steve. You're not
ugly.
Spiritual meaning, yeah. So theoregulation, connecting to higher power, they'd call it in AA. You have to have a higher power if you want to get sober. I highly recommend that. Meaning, spirituality, the gods, God, take your pick. We'll pass that one differently, don't we? You have to sacrifice your heart on the altar of something like an auto-Aztec. Thanks. Any questions? What about integrated thinking? Don't know what that means. Question: when in the course? When is the course? Okay, Croatia. It's right now in Pula. I'm here right now. You can come join us for the weekend, but the course has already started. Slovenia is on the schedule, and it's somewhere equally gorgeous. If people don't know, Slovenia is the prettiest country in the world. I'm sorry, but it is. So, well, nice people too. Okay, any other questions? Did I miss questions?
Yeah, if you've had a question that got missed, just retype it or tag it.
When I come to that, I always forget the dates one, so look at that, tick that thing above, and there's a few places left on that intensive in Slovenia.
July 15, I believe it is, but I just put the link in the chat.
If
you're watching on recording, it's embodimentunlimited.com/events-calendar.
Steve, you're on it. I love you. This company would collapse without you, Steve. What is the definition of a nutshell? I don't know. I'm not going to show you my nuts or my shells. How to bounce back from pressure or stress, how to not go crazy, grace under pressure, what you need to get through 2024. I don't know. Will that do this for? Yeah.
You can go Polish in the act of expansive loving in the body.
Yeah, I mean, somatically, what would it be to be resilient now? Let's simply this is an inquiry, right? You know, it's probably not like, meh. What is it to be resilient? To be strong, to be open, to be flexible, to be soft, responsive. It's not just to be able to take a hit, right? It's not just like toughness. It's probably a bit more creative than that, a bit more responsive. Yeah. For me, it's an openness, relaxation, responsivity, a relational quality. But, you know, it's inquiry, so you are welcome to disagree. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So hedonism, self-indulgence, and denial. This kind of Aristotle, but there's a middle point, right? So I said this earlier today, don't be a dictator or a slave to your body. They're the two extremes. So one is like too conservative, the other is too liberal. Yeah, one is like, I just do what I want to do, including smoking this crack. Yeah. And the other one is like, my body is sinful and I'm not having sex till, you know, and I'm not allowed to do anything and never eat the cake. Like there's some balance there, right? This Aristotelian middle point of virtue. Yeah. Oh, John's got a specific dictionary definition. Well done, John. That's good. Thank you, Don. All right, I think we leave it there. Next session is going to be a bit more. This was kind of like stuff you already know for most people, maybe refined and clarified. But next session will be a little darker, weirder, more provocative. Yeah, some of you are not going to like it, but that's okay. I'm not everyone's crack pipe. Let's leave it there. So thank you to Steve for hosting us late at night, and thank you to all of you for coming. Well done. Let's give each other a big kiss goodbye. Obviously, if you don't want to be kissed, turn your camera off now.
And now allow everyone to unmute and stop the recording so you can say goodbye,
Say goodbye
in
in
your first language. And I will stick here for 5 minutes if you have any questions about the course or details or things like that, so that Mark doesn't need them. All right, thank you, everyone.